Shalom, giving all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushai, Bashim, Rechak, Wadash. Double understood elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to those who elect tabernacle of David that are scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, what transpired, out there in the UK, when you had, you had the Akim out there, they were out there holding camp, doing the will of the Most High. And lo and behold, here come Shaitan, here comes Satan, going to and fro in the earth, right? And he appears and tried to, disrupt the brother's ministry. He has to, come forth with his wicked shenanigans, trying to oppose the doctrine, trying to, gaslight brothers, try to come like he's humble and he's a good guy, but really, this is, one of Satan's incarnates in the flesh, all right, who's in opposition to, the Most High in his will. So, I was listening to this testimony, and it just further confirms, our suspicion, with this devil vocab. All right, I really believe that this man is truly set up by the higher ups. We don't know the particular. We don't know, what exact entity, but we know that he's definitely getting funded or sponsored, because the way he's moving, who moves like that, and you're following us around, stalking brothers, stalking camps, knowing that brothers don't want to deal with you, don't want to have anything to do with you, no discussion, no nothing, and you still proceed. So at this point, it's harassment, but also you're following us around. You're compassing land and sea, just to be the devil that you are, and that's why the scriptures tell us, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So the way he's moving right now, you can't tell me that this guy is not set up. You can't tell me that he's not an agent. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna skip towards like the middle, because it was interesting that he brought out how after they had their dealings with him, and they tried to do the best that they can, because we're not dealing with him. The order is, if any of these guys try to roll up on us, contact your local authorities, because at that point they're infringing on your rights, all right, to freedom of assembly, all right, and that's exactly what we're doing, our freedom of religion and freedom of assembly. So if they come against us and infringe on our rights, we have a right to contact the authorities. All right, so obviously it didn't work over there in the UK, so them brothers were forced to have to deal with them. And let me get this in 2 Corinthians, because he knows that following us around, to try to get up under our skin, to get us to react, to get us to make threats, that's his whole agenda, really, to demonize us. So his behavior is very antagonizing, and it's to get us to react in a carnal sense. So that's why I want to get this precept real quick. This is 2 Corinthians 10, verse 4. It says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Mashiach, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. So the way them brothers went about it, you know, it was spiritual, because they couldn't get law enforcement to do their job, you know, to get these devils away so they can continue on with their ministry. So they were forced to have to, you know, basically use the spiritual sword. You know, they had to basically defend the doctrine. You know, they had to, you know, they brought out the precepts, and they still was cutting this dude. You know, and that was pretty much, you know, there was nothing else left. There was no other option. All right. They tried to, you know, go the other route, contact the authorities. The authorities didn't do nothing about it, so this is what they had to do. All right. So they went the spiritual route, and they dealt with them, and they ended up leaving. All right. And yo, as you come past sea and land just to get cut, going all the way over to the UK. So this guy, he's stalking us, you know, worldwide, going to and fro in the earth just like Shaitan. So, you know, I commend them brothers for how they, you know, dealt with the situation. You know, they had no choice. Otherwise, you know, they would have been able to do their thing uninterrupted. But you know how Satan works. You know, when 2 or 3 are gathered in the Lord's name, you know, yeah, the spirit is there, but also here come the wicked one. All right. So let me play this real quick.
To the point I thought, well, fuck it, if the police come now, what's the point? He's already gone. Yeah, situation's done. I don't need to be here. I excused myself to go to the bathroom. Now, I took off my garment and I started to walk further down, and there's sort of like a junction where there's like 3 roads kind of collide. There's a junction there where, on the corner. And as I was walking, I was making my way to go into the park to use the public toilet. And I was kind of just in my thoughts processing what was going on. And there was a white car parked at that junction, and it had blacked out windows. Didn't think anything of it at first, but as I got closer to it, the back window wound down, and Vocab Malone was sitting in there, and he looks at me and he goes, "God bless you, Caleb." And I was kind of taken back by that, because I think, first of all, how does he know my name? I mean, I didn't have any direct interaction with him when we were teaching. It was the older brothers in the camp who were actually speaking to him. I was just reading. So first of all, I thought, how the hell does this guy know my name? And then I kind of like, I just kind of looked at him. I didn't really respond. I didn't say anything because I just read that scripture. Just read it again. If they come any unto you, this is 2 John 1 and 10. If they come any unto you and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed, for he that bid.
Right, and that's perfect, because this man, Haman Malone, you know, he tries to put off this facade like he's a real humble, you know, likable individual. You know, he tries to play that humble role like he's a nice guy, you know, and he used Christianity as a front. But behind closed doors, you know, he's in operation, you know, under the adversary. He's clearly being funded by an entity. The way he's moving at this point, all right, it to me is far beyond just suspicion. All right, he clearly has an objective, and his objective is coming from his handlers, and they're probably putting pressure on him to you know, up his game on, you know, coming against us, you know, trying to antagonize, provoke, you know, confront us and use mind games and tactics, you know, to try to entangle us in our words, to see if he can catch us saying something incriminating or something violent. That way it could be used against us later down the line. All right. And we know that the Southern Poverty Law Center, they work in tangent with the task force, all right, the FBI and these different agencies to add us to the category of being a hate group or an extremist group. So, we have nothing to do with him. All right, he's clearly an adversary, but he tries to, take the humble approach. Come up like he actually care, and he's trying to deliver Israelites out of sin and to get them to understand their error and this and that and the third. Trying to gaslight us to overthrow us of our faith. But you know that you're not going to convince us, just like we're not going to be able to convince you. All right. The Lord said no man can pluck his elect out of his hand. It also says that his sheep hear his voice and follow him. All right. They will not hearken unto the voice of strangers, but will flee. So that's why we don't deal with you. And in the beginning, we took you head on. We covered all type of topics, and we destroyed you in the spirit. All right. And using the sword, the spiritual sword, which is this word. The word is more quick, sharp, and powerful. All right, and sharper than any two-edged sword. And that's what we use. We don't get carnal. Even the Lord told his disciples, I send you as sheep among wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So that's why we don't get confrontational. We don't get physical with anybody. You're the one that's in pursuit of us. We're not pursuing you. So who's the aggressor here? Who's the one that's stalking and harassing, but still trying to act like you're benevolent and humble, playing on this Christian role, but yet you happen to know the government name of this brother. If that don't scream intel, hey, I don't know what does. So this is why the scriptures say to separate yourself from your enemies and never to trust them. Let me get this one real quick. Sirach 6. In Sirach 6 and verse 13, and it says, separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends. You got to watch over those who are even close to you, brothers that are in the circle, because this thing of ours is definitely in danger of being infiltrated. Well, it's not even in danger. To a certain extent, it is infiltrated, because you do have guys in this thing of ours that are compromised. They're getting approached by agencies and they're getting paid up under the table. So you got weird behavior going on within Israel. So we got to vet guys that on the outside, that are watching and listening and coming out there, and you never know what the agenda is. So if we have to be that way towards our own, who's coming around us, how much more the enemy? We're going to stay separate from you. We don't have any dealings with you. And then this devil have the nerve to try to offer to go and sit at a table with him. The hell? What do you think this is? All right. You identify us as a straight up hate group. And it's part of the reason why eventually they're going to roll down upon us. So what the hell will we look like? We would look silly sitting at any table with you, offering to go eat something to eat with it. No, we don't trust you. Let's get Sirach 12. Sirach 12 and 10, it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. All right, so Yeah, we're not going to have any dealings with them. We're not going to shake your hand or none of that. And we're not like the Sakari in them, man. All right, we're spiritual. We have discernment. It says, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up and take thy place. You know, because he wants this whole Hebrew Israelite thing eradicated. All right. And he wants to be the guy to play hero. Like, I defeated the whole Hebrew Israelite movement head on. All right. And now Christianity is back at the forefront. You know, everybody's flocking back. No, that's not. Nope. Christianity takes the huge L, man. And it's been the other way around. People leaving Christianity and flocking and hearkening to the prophets. All right, more conversions, man, from out of that plantation Christianity to the truth. But he wants to take our place, you know. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent? And vocab, he's clearly a snake. All right. And you get close to that man, I wouldn't pity you. You know, because why would you trust in a damn snake? You know, given his nature. Or any such as come nigh wild beast. So them brothers, they played it smart, man. We ain't got nothing to do with you. You know, but for him to roll up and got his own personal chauffeur, his own personal driver, and he's rolling around like that, and then he rolls his window down and states the brother's government name. Where would he have gotten that information? If he isn't rolling with intelligence. All right. Let me get another pre. And this is the book of Sirach 11. In verse 29, it says, bring not every man into thine house, for the deceitful men have many trains. And that's why we even watch our own people. The scriptures say, trust you not in any brother. You know, so we got to be mindful of, you know, who's coming around us. You know, because there's many agendas out there, many ulterior motives. And you can, you know, and even the Lord, you know, he had to deal with that, you know, with Judas Iscariot, you know, working for the enemy. So it says, bring not every man into thine house. While you got these other camps, it's a numbers game with them. You know, they want to try to bend all Israel to the marriage. And that's not the instruction. All right. Only those who got the wedding garment is who you're to focus on. All right. It says, like as a partridge taken and kept in a cage, so is the heart of the proud. And like as a spy, he watcheth he for thy fall. In vocab, he's clearly a spy, man. That's why we believe he's Haman reincarnated, because, you know, Haman, you know, he wanted the praise. He wanted, you know, position. And he wanted us to basically bow to him. And when he saw that Mordecai didn't bow to him, and you know, the secret got out on his ass that he was trying to overthrow Xerxes, he sent out the message to hey, the Jews is conspiring against the kingdom of the Persians. You know, so y'all might want to you know, regulate that. Matter of fact, hang him on gallows. So he set up that snare. He digged that pit for us. Put out all this rhetoric against the Southern Kingdom at the time. All right, put out a evil report to get the king to basically slaughter us, only for it to backfire, because the Lord, you know, hey, the Most High, you know, that's how he works. All right, you try to dig a pit for somebody, you fall into that pit that you digged. You try to roll a stone, it's gonna roll right back upon your own head. All right, he take the wicked in their own craftiness. So he's doing the same thing. You know, he's trying to gather all information. All right. Just like intelligence, he tries to look for things that he can point out and what's being said to use it against us for evil. And that's what he's been doing. All right. So it says, for he lieth in wait and turneth good into evil. And what we're doing out there is a good work, man, because we're out there feeding the sheep like the Lord instructed us. You know, we're out there prophesying, you know, edifying the body. And he's trying to turn that into evil. You know, your doctrine. He's trying to turn it into evil. And in things worthy praise will lay blame upon thee. All right. So, you know, he's clearly operating with malicious intent. And he's already admitted that, you know, he's an adversary. All right. He's in opposition. OK, he has hostility for the Hebrew Israelites. And that hostility goes all the way back to the garden, that enmity. So we know to never trust you, even when you try to crouch yourself, talking about bless you. And that's just a play on what the Lord said when he said, bless them that despitefully use you and curse you. You know, that ain't nothing but, you know, him. He the scriptures say in 2 Corinthians that Satan has transformed himself as a minister of light. And marvel not if his ministers be transformed into ministers of righteousness. You know, so he tried to, you know, take on that act, you know, trying to apply certain principles that Yahweh Shai laid down for his disciples as if, you know, he's applying it, but he's really doing it as a front. Basically, he's dissembling himself. All right, and we know not to trust that. Okay, so that you know that raised high red flags. You know, he rolling around like he intelligence. You know, rolling it around in vehicles with tint on the windows. And then rolling it down and come on, man. He's operating clearly from the left hand. There's an agency, there's an entity, all right, that he actually works for. And that's part of us, you know, like Paul warned, you know, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and against powers. Now, when you look up that word powers is talking about the authorities, you know, authorities that are working in higher places, you know, that hierarchy. Not 2 Corinthians, Ephesians. Yeah, Ephesians 6:11, it says, put on the whole armor of the Most High that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. All right. And you know, we have to defend ourselves, but we can't physically, you know, do anything. So, you know, what is our next best option? If we can't exercise our right as citizens, use our citizenship to defend ourselves like Paul did. You know, he had a Roman citizenship. When they was trying to persecute him, he used his Roman card to appeal to Caesar to defend himself. So, you know, whether you over there in the UK or here in America, you know, you as a citizen should have that right. But, you know, obviously, this devil, you know, he's out for himself. You know, so they're white supremacists. So their policies really extend to them to protect them, but it loses juice when it comes to us. You know? So this is what we have to deal with. All right. So them brothers, they had to keep it spiritual. So they had to, use the spiritual sword. All right. And they had to, keep that armor on, while in defense. So when you look up that word against powers, the word there's exousia, and it says, in a sense of ability, privilege, it says force, capacity, competency, freedom, objectively, mastery. All right, down here is it concretely, magistrate, superhuman, potentate, taken of control, delegated influence, authority. All right, you're dealing with authority, jurisdiction, liberty, power, right, strength. And that's what that's what we're up against. Third definition, it says the power of authority, influence, and a right of privilege, the power of rule or government, the power of him whose will and commands must be submitted to by others and obeyed. So we got to deal with governments, all right, government entities that act on the behalf of the government, which the government is controlled by the elite, the higher ups, man. So this is what we're up against, and Vocab, he plays a role in that. They're clearly sponsoring this guy. They're funding him to be able to operate and go across the world. All right, and just the way he's moving in general, man. And you better believe that cost. His traveling fees. He eats out a lot. That's why he's overweight. And he's navigating and cyber stalking brothers and finding out their whereabouts and rolling up on them. Where you getting all this funding to for your travels? What's your skill where you're able to make a living to be able to operate in this fashion? Because you're 24/7, you're doing this, chasing after the Israelites. So, I have no doubt in my mind, man. The suspicion is justified, and honestly, it's beyond suspicion at this point. I believe this guy is really set up, and this is what we've been feeling for the longest. This just, add more credence to it. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. So we have more than reason to not deal with you. So, yeah, man. But like Paul said, if this be of men, it'll come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, you can't overthrow it.